Meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Members of the Commercial and Residential Boards of Adjustment may be attending virtually in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The staff present today are Karen Moreno, Michelle Pena, Beth Knight, Daniel Guerrero, and Chris Austria. Chair, will you please call the meeting to order?
I call the September 20th Board of Adjustment Commercial Panel to order.
Thank you. We welcome everyone to the Commercial Board of Adjustment meeting. This board is a citizen board appointed by City Council. By state law, a minimum of 9 members or alternate members must be present to provide quorum in order to conduct business. Today, we have quorum with 11 members present, being 9 regular members and 2 alternates. Today's meeting agenda can be found online at www.fortworthtexas.gov. Speaker registration forms for cases on today's agenda were required to be turned in prior to the start of this session. Today's public meeting is being documented by cable television and video conference recording, which will be available on the city's website. To achieve a timely and orderly meeting, the Board of Adjustment requests that the following rules of procedure be respected. When not speaking, all online participants will be muted in order to avoid any potential background noise which may distract from a hearing. Each case will be called in the order listed on the agenda unless otherwise directed by the chair. Staff will summarize the cases based on each request. As your case is being called, we ask that you are in front of your camera or on your phone and be prepared to speak. If you are not the applicant but will be speaking in favor or in opposition, please stand by and be ready to speak to minimize delays. Remember, if you are online, please remain muted until it is time to speak. All speakers must remember that all dialogue must be directed to the Board of Adjustment only. If your camera is on when speaking, unless you are reading from a document, we ask that you look directly at your camera instead of your screen. A total of 7 minutes is allowed for everyone speaking in favor and 7 minutes from the opposition. If there is more than one speaker today, they should have already gotten together with other like-minded speakers to determine how much time each speaker will have. If deemed necessary, extra time may be allowed to ensure a speaker's final point will be made. To start, we will ask the applicant to present the fact of their request and the reasons they believe the board should approve the request. We will then ask for other persons in favor of the application to present their application or their information. When the applicant and others in favor complete their presentation, we will ask those opposed to make their presentation with their 7 minutes. The applicant will be then allowed 3 additional minutes to address any issues presented by the opposition. As opposed, in the 2019 legislature, there was a rule change regarding translation cases. When speakers require the services of a translator, all speaker times during those cases will be doubled. After everyone has spoken, we will ask the board if they have any questions for the speakers. There is no time limit during this period. For the discussion period, we will close the public hearing, and the members of the board will be asked for discussion or motion on the application. Once a motion has been made and seconded, we will call for a vote. For this hybrid meeting format, voting by the Board of Adjustment will require a voice vote from each member, or if online and their audio is out, raising a hand in favor or in opposition to the motion. If an application is denied, an applicant will have 10 calendar days in which to appeal to a district court of appropriate jurisdiction. For more information on this and additional information on any case on today's agenda, you may contact the Board of Adjustment at 817-392-8026 after this meeting. If necessary, a closed executive session may be held with respect to the posted agenda items to enable the Board of Adjustment to receive advice from legal staff. At this time, please mute your microphones if online, and everyone should turn off the audible alarms on your electronic devices so that we will not be distracted during our meeting. We ask the board members to please remember to keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. If you raise the digital hand on the screen to request to speak, once you are called upon and finish speaking, please make sure that the digital hand is turned off. Thank you. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the August 2023 meeting. We are open for a motion to approve.
A motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve and second for the approval of the August 16th hearing minutes. Roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Herrera, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez, your vote, please, sir. Thank you. Ms. Freed, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Hook, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Hoblet, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, your vote, please, sir.
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Hoppy, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. And Ms. Gaither, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Freed, your vote, please, ma'am.
You already got me.
Pardon me?
You already got me. Approve.
Sorry, that should be Kay Duffy.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Murillo, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously, 11-0. The first case on today's agenda is BAC 23-018, located at 9120 North Freeway, owned by Zaytun Real Estate Investments LLC, and presented by Mr. Signman in G Intensive Commercial Zoning. The first variance is to allow a sign attached to the western facade to exceed the maximum sign area, where the maximum sign allowed is 168 square feet for 112 linear feet of tenant space, and the requested sign square footage is 388 square feet.
Is the applicant present? Please make your presentation.
Good morning. We originally submitted a permit application which was denied for a much larger sign. For the variance process, we submitted a smaller version of the same sign that is 225 and a half square feet, which is still about 57 square feet over what's allowed. Strongly like you to consider approving this. They already have one sign on the side elevation. And the location of the business sits a pretty good distance away from the road. So the larger sign they can have, the more visibility they'll have from the road. So we'd just like you to consider allowing us to have a little bit extra.
Could you tell us your name? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, my name is Josh. I'm with Mr. Signman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Signman. Josh. In your discussion, you indicated that you were asking for a sign that would not exceed 225. Our materials indicated that it might be off the original submission, but it was 388.
Correct.
So you're backing off to a 225?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there any questions of the applicant, or is there any opposition? I will note that the late correspondence did include one letter of support and one letter of opposition from neighborhood associations in that area. Any questions of the? Yes.
You might not be able to answer this, but just curious if you know how many new members that Plant Fitness gets a month, week, anything like that?
No, sir, I'm just the sign company. I have
Okay.
no clue.
Any other questions of the board, of the applicant?
So is there any, I'm sorry, jump in. Is there any particular thing about your building that you think makes it different than the other buildings in that complex?
Visibility. There's a ridge out by the road that blocks some visibility. It could affect the other businesses. But in this instance, it'd just be important to have a larger sign to be able to see.
So I'm very familiar with that shopping center, and I think many members of our boards were. Visibility is a problem, but I think a lot, especially in that part of the shopping center, are destinations people know where they're going. So I don't think, thank you.
My comment would be that I don't think even with a larger sign that someone from the access road or from the freeway would be able to see it. The signs that are out on the side road and they're at the front of the complex, I think those will serve the purpose for the users that are trying to find Planet Fitness. So I will not be in support of a larger sign. Sorry.
Sir?
I had a question,
Yes,
Mr. Riley.
Go ahead.
So what percentage what percentage are we still over? And tell us about your hardships. That's something that we need to discuss as far as that's usually one of the things that Angela Gaither asked about is hardships and whatnot as far as that's concerned. So I'm jumping ahead because I know that's going to probably be coming from her. But tell us about your hardships and why, and then but also what percentage are you still over that should be where you should be and where you are now?
I don't have a percentage ready. I could calculate it if needed, but we're 57 square feet over at the reduced size that we're now proposing. It's still probably, what if we're allowed 168, what is it, another 30% roughly that we're asking for. The hardships, like I've mentioned, is the visibility. With a fitness center, you need people to know that you're there to get members. So that would be the main thing. The focus is making people aware that that's somewhere they can go work out.
I have a question for staff that hopefully they could answer. Do you know if Feathergrass is going to be connected to the road to the south, to Alliance Town Center Road? It looks like there might be a plan for that, but I don't know if they're connected right now.
Karen, can you please go to the aerial? I keep forgetting that Feathergrass is actually a street and not just a landscaping plant. If you can go to our aerial, please, ma'am. So while it is not connected now, ultimately, I think when the land to the west is developed, I think that that will become more of an internal circulation, and it will end up connecting with the other north-south street in the vicinity, which is Feathergrass will connect with the Alliance Town Center Road. So it looks like it's a temporary turnaround at this point.
Okay. I just asked for turnaround. If somebody did miss the turn, then they could have the ability to cut around and
Yes,
get back to the
and
shopping
actually it
center.
shows up better. Karen, can you go one slide further to the zoning map, please? You can actually see that the right-of-way is dedicated, so that at one point, Feathergrass will tie in with Alliance Town Center. And then, Mr. Riley, you had a question in the work session as to whether or not this site had a unified sign agreement.
Yes.
It does not. The shopping center to the north of it that is along, centered along Rain Lily, however, does.
Yeah. I recall, I believe that this track was sold off and actually developed before the Alliance Town Center was, from my recall. And what is the square, do the staff or the applicant know what the square footage of the other tenant in that same structure's sign, how many square feet that is?
Karen, can you go, yes, no, I'm sorry, if you can go to the staff site photos. The first one, yes, the Sam Moon that is just to the left of the Planet Fitness has 145 linear feet of frontage, so it's approximately 30 feet wider, and it has a sign square footage of 218 square feet.
So that would still be, the request, the altered request would still be more than that.
About 7 square feet. Just
7 square feet.
Yes, the applicant is still requesting a sign that is larger than the tenant space to the left.
However, the proposed sign is still proportionate to the elevation. It won't look oversized.
Are there any other questions of the board? Call the public hearing closed. You might be asked back for some other questions and open it for discussion of the board.
Thank you.
Well, I don't love sign code because I feel like a graphic artist has a better idea what looks good and what doesn't, but it is our job to uphold this zoning ordinance, and I don't see a hardship in this case.
Yeah, I guess my commentary that I mentioned in the briefing is, this is something that people go to. They plan to go to the gym. It's not like a restaurant or a convenience store or something like that where they need additional signage to say, oh, this is right here. Or, they're planning to go there. I mean, I've never stopped at a gym because I saw a gym on the side of the road or saw a bigger sign. And that's why I was kind of curious to see if, he understood the number of people that join in a weekly or monthly basis to see if this does increase membership. But I guess, my question for the applicant was, how long has this been here? Has this been here a couple months, or maybe staff can answer that since it's been open?
It is not open yet.
It's not open, okay.
It was previously, my understanding, another fitness-type business that no longer has this space.
Yes, that's correct. It was a previous site. And then Mr. Hoppy also has a question or a comment.
Mr. Hoppy?
So, what I've noticed in reference to Planet Fitness is that, their commercials on television, they're it seems like nonstop all day. I know that people seek out Planet Fitness because it's a low expense place to go work out, and I mean, they're open 24 hours and many people just seek out to go to Planet Fitness. So I just can't see, a 30% increase on the size of the sign is going to increase visibility or help increase on membership or income or whatever it may happen to be. So I will be unable to support this request.
Angela?
This is Angela Gaither. I wanted to just make a note of these visibility studies that were included in the application. I really appreciated that. And I think it's very thorough. I think in the future, it's very hard for people who represent the sign company to answer questions about their underlying business of their client. So I too would have had some questions for Planet Fitness or someone from Planet Fitness about the volume of their business and the traffic anticipated. But I wanted to just say I appreciated those visibility signs. And I looked at them, and I'm not really sure any bigger of a sign on the wall was going to fix the fact that there's trees hiding the building. I don't know that was going to fix anything, but I did want to just say I thought this sign person, and I'm sorry I forgot your name, but I thought you were very prepared and I appreciate it. But I don't find that there's a hardship, and I won't be able to support the application today.
Yes, sir.
I also see 3 opportunities for signage here. You have a monument sign, side of the building, and the frontage, so I don't see the hardship either. Sorry.
I think in closing, he mentioned in his testimony that the ridge out by the roadway, I think that ridge was an intentional landscape buffer area to hide in the parking area. So, and it might have even been required. So I think that's somewhat of a self-created hardship, even though it's not in a way. But with that, I think our discussions ends. Would entertain a motion by the board.
Yeah, I have a motion on BAC 23-018, and I move that we approve.
Second, Angela Gaither.
Okay. The motion has been to approve, and this is for the 388 square feet sign. Doesn't take in consideration that they were.
Thank you for the clarification. No, it's for the 225-foot
Okay,
sign.
okay. So we were amending it to 225 as in the revised drawings. I asked staff to have a roll call vote.
Yes, on the motion to approve the 225 square foot sign, Mr. Gutierrez, your vote, please, sir.
Deny.
Thank you. Ms. Freed, your vote, please, ma'am.
Deny.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, your vote, please, sir.
Deny.
Thank you. Mr. Hook, your vote, please, sir.
Nay. Deny.
Thank you. Mr. Hoblet, your vote, please, sir.
Deny.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, your vote, please, sir.
Deny.
Thank you. Mr. Hoppy, your vote, please, sir.
Deny.
Thank you. Ms. Gaither, your vote, please, ma'am.
Deny.
Thank you. Ms. Duffy, your vote, please, ma'am.
No.
Thank you. And Ms. Murillo, your vote, please, ma'am.
Deny.
Thank you. Ms. Herrera, your vote, please, ma'am.
No.
Thank you. The motion fails by a vote of 0 to 11.
Next case,
The next case on the agenda is BAC 23-020, located at 3201 Marquita Drive, owned by Kid Eye Properties LLC and presented by Eric Estrada, in I, Light Industrial Zoning in the NAS JRB overlay, compatible use Zone 2. The variance is to allow 3 dumpsters and their enclosure to exceed front yard setbacks where accessory structures are not allowed. The required location is behind the front building wall of the building furthest from the street. The applicants are requesting a location of 10 feet beyond the front building wall and no closer than 25 feet to the front property line.
Good morning. My name is Eric Estrada. I represent Kidai, the Marco Company. The reason we want to apply for this variance is our building is actually only 8 feet from our neighbors on the back. So there's really no space on the back to put our dumpsters. There is no space on the side either. We have a neighbor to our north. Well, we don't have a neighbor to our north, it's the street. We have a neighbor to our south, and it's also only 10 feet. So the only proposed site that we feel comfortable that we have enough room for the dumpster company is that site. We have tried putting them on different places, but we get really bad feedback from the dumpster company. They can't get in and out. There is also another property we own, but it's across the street. So we feel like if we put them across the street on our actual parking lot for the employees, we might contaminate the waters or anything by moving the trash all the way across the street. That's what we want to do it right in front so we can keep them enclosed as much as possible. We also want to enclose them because we're having issues with some of our neighbors emptying their regular trash on them. So that's all I have. If you have any questions for me.
How long has this site been in business?
Over 30 years.
And is this the first code?
What had
violation?
happened is a former employee called for to put a complaint against us, saying that we were dumping illegal waste on our dumpsters. So one of your employees, called compliance, went up there and double-checked. And while she was there, she noticed they were not enclosed. Originally, we were, I guess, never asked to do it because, I guess, 30 years ago, the code was different. You didn't have to have them enclosed or on the back or anything. So when they first opened, they just kept them up front. We did have another violation of us obstructing one of the sidewalks. We had since then fixed it. And that's the reason it was up. We were not aware because we were thinking that because we've been in business for so long, we didn't have to have them enclosed. We have another property down the street that we do, on those, we keep them inside the actual building area by fenced in. And it's also 30 years old.
Thank you.
yes, another question?
For the enclosure of the dumpsters, what is the plan?
We
What
don't
type of
have,
materials will you use to enclose
we
it?
will hire a contractor. We were thinking of using the same stucco that we have on the building, which is our main office, so it'll look similar to that. We're a woodworking company. We're trying to do wood on it, but it won't last as long as the concrete, so we're leaning more into the concrete. Once approved, if approved, then we'll hire a contractor and we'll submit plans of what exactly buildings we will be using by the
So
contractor.
the 3 dumpsters will be in the enclosed with doors so that when the garbage man or the truck comes, then they'll open it and then you can close it to lock it, I assume.
Yes, we have talked to our dumpster company, and they said as long as we have a combination lock, they'll be able to open them every morning when they dump. At first, we were thinking of we would be opening them, but we have different schedules depending on how that route's going. Sometimes they pick up at 5 o'clock in the morning and nobody's there to open them. Sometimes pick up as late as 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mr. Hoop?
Do you utilize all 3 dumpsters? You produce that much trash?
What it is we are a manufacturing company for Walmart and Kroger, and we manufacture their bananas in tomato displays. So we use a lot of foam, cell-close foam. So it's a lot of volume. It's not heavy or anything. It's not a lot of trash per se, but because it's foam, it bulks up. And we have tried to use the roll-off, but it's worse because we have to have them with a lid on. So the 40-foot roll-offs will not be an option in this case.
And do you have any room currently in your facilities? I see you have a machine shop and a warehouse to store these in. I mean, obviously, I don't know the weight of them, but I figured that would be difficult to move them in and out for trash day. But just didn't know if you had the space or not currently.
There is actually room inside the buildings to do them. The only problem is we have asked our trash company if they can give us an actual schedule of where we will have to get them out, and they have not been able to help us in that because it's just based on how their schedule is going. So we might miss the trash that day or 2 days in a row or something like that, and then start being overflown. Also, on the weekends, we have, they have a different schedule for the weekends. Sometimes they do it on a Saturday, sometimes they do it on a Monday. So that'll be the same issue. We won't be able to get them out, in and out on a timely manner for a trash company to pick them up.
Mr. Hoppy has his virtual hand up.
Mr. Hoppy?
How often does dumpster service transpire?
Every morning or every day, Monday to Friday. It's supposed to be Monday to Friday, but like I said, sometimes it's on Saturday.
Okay, and so and what are the dumpsters 100% full
It depends.
when they come to pick them up?
It depends on the volume or on our schedule, especially from the months of April to about the months of November. We pretty much have them full. From November to about April, which most stores don't want to see in there because of the holidays, it kind of slows down a little. We might have 2 full instead of 3. But for the most part, they are full.
And the dumpster service company has told you that they cannot give you a window of time of which they can come and pick up the dumpster, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so and then if you build this enclosure, but there's not going to be, I assume that there's not going to be a pass-through area on the dumpster themselves or on the enclosure itself. You know, I mean, my thought process, I mean, with the dumpsters that I've seen, if you lock it, then if you have to you know, I mean, how are you going to during the day keep the enclosure closed so that you don't have the gate open during the, you know, if you don't know when the dumpster people are coming, or are you going to open the gate and then put your trash in and then then close the gate again? How often do you put trash into the dumpsters?
It's based on the production, but yeah, that's our plan. We'll be opening and closing our gates as needed to empty our trash from the shop. And like I said, we talked to the trash company, and they said they don't have a problem opening the locks when they're about to empty them, and they're okay to closing them after the fact.
Okay, thank you.
Angela, do you have a question of the applicant?
I wanted to just go through the application real quick. I think you did a good job explaining why your property is unique, the shape of it, the size of it, the setbacks, and the limitations of it. And when how long I want to go through the hardship itself. I want to make sure is not self-created. And so did you mention how long this building has been here, how long it's been built that way?
Actually, the company has been in business over 30 years. And the original building is, if you go back to the original photo, that is the actual original building. And then as the company grew, they just grew out of control, and they just kept adding buildings to it. They never thought about where we're going to put our trash or anything. Yeah, it was self-inflicted, basically. The offices are to your south, and then more production facilities are to your north. And they never thought about, hey, where are we going to put our dumpsters? Because
and when you talk about the business, you're mentioning several different locations. They're all kind of in the same area, but there's different buildings and they're all related. Is that the situation?
There are 4 buildings on this facility, on the specific one. We have I believe they are on 3 different addresses because they just kept adding to it. So that's why you might see 3 different addresses under the same Kidai company on this block.
So then these 3 trash dumpsters, do they serve all 4 of those buildings, or do they just serve this building that we're looking at?
This one building, but it's just because they kept adding to it. I believe on this same block is 3209 and 3204, I believe, or 3214. And they're all under Kidai.
Okay, and so then you mentioned that you looked at other places to store your trash cans. What other places did you look at?
If you
And
see,
why were those places not chosen?
you see to the northwest corner of it, there is a parking lot in there. That is our parking lot for our employees. And the reason we didn't want to put them out there is when it rains, we have to keep them open on the top to be able to dump our trash. And our permit is, don't allow us to keep them open on the top. So we're afraid that when it rains, we are going to just contaminate the road by going back and forth with our forklifts. Also, it creates a little bit of a hazard for our forklift drivers because there's only a 2-way stop on that one. There's continuous traffic going on the Marquita side. So we will
Okay.
we'll have to drive our forklifts back and forth on the actual street to be able to dump our trash.
So then, if it's foam that's in the dumpster, I would be concerned about it blowing around when it's windy also.
Yeah.
If you're trying to transport it. When the dumpsters are on the current site, do you keep the lids to the dumpsters closed currently?
As much as possible, yes, we do. It's part of our permit, so we do have to keep them closed as much as we can. Sometimes they blow open just by the wind, but for the most part, we do keep them closed.
Okay. Is there anything other than foam in your trash? Because your complainer mentioned, and you mentioned toxic waste. So I can't let the opportunity go to ask you, do you have toxic waste in your trash?
No, we don't. We actually have a waste management company who services all Kidai locations. We actually have 4 locations. I can provide information from our contractor if you want. I don't have it handy right now, but they actually handle all of our waste.
Okay, and I think those are my only questions. Those are my only questions for you for now. Thank you.
If I may note for the board, if the company put their dumpster on the lot with the parking lot that is to the northwest, they would need a separate variance to have a dumpster on a lot without a primary use. So they would still be here for a variance. It would just be a different one.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If is the refuse that goes inside, is this going into the landfill or is this recyclable?
We have some recyclable materials, but we actually send them to the recycle ourselves. We actually own a different, Kidai owns another property of 35, and they recycle plastic. So we send our plastic to be recycled down there, but we transport that ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Everything that goes into these dumpsters actually goes to the landfill. What can be recycled, we recycle beforehand.
Angela, did you have another question? Oh, I thought that was a hand. I just see a little red button. Are there any other questions by the board of the applicant? Then I declare the public hearing closed. Stand by, we might have a few extra questions open for discussion by the board.
I think this property has a hardship, and this is very reasonable. I mean, this is something that they need to address, and I feel like this is something I can support.
I'm just going to add one thing quickly that we learned in work session. It's not in the notes, but all the surrounding properties are currently zoned industrial. And as this man has testified, they actually own the property across the street. I don't feel like this was not reported by a neighbor, or it doesn't seem to be causing any grief to the neighbors.
I agree with that. I don't see, I do see a hardship, and I don't think putting the trash across the street on the adjacent lot would be a good idea. That's just pushing the problem down the road. Yeah.
Mr. Wilson, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. I think that they're wanting to take reasonable measures by putting up an enclosure that's going to match the exterior of it sounded like their corporate office, which is next door. I think the hardship may have happened a long time ago, didn't get really or need to be addressed until today. And I think this is all reasonable.
Any other discussion of the board? I'll just add, it's an industrial area that's become more industrial over time with, particularly with Air Force Base, in close proximity and not allowing any residential. So I think the location, while it's not entirely up to the building standard zoning ordinance, it's appropriate, particularly if they're going to match the enclosure of the dumpster with similar architecture. I do believe it's a hardship due to lot configuration. If there's no other discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
Okay, regarding BAC 23020, I recommend that we approve as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Ask for a roll call vote.
Yes. Mr. Gutierrez, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Freed, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Hook, your vote, please, sir.
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Hoblet, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, your vote, please, sir.
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Hoppy, your vote, please, sir.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Gaither, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Duffy, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Murillo, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. And Ms. Herrera, your vote, please, ma'am.
Approve.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously, 11-0.
That concludes this month's commercial Board of Adjustment agenda. We will stand recessed, and the residential board will take up business at 1 o'clock.